Good morning, champs. So by this time, you all would have already installed Django and you would already installed VS Code. If in case you're not installed, I reckon you installing it first before we move ahead with this course of web application development using Python and Django using MVC framework. And we already know what is the client request and response mechanism, the basics of it, of course. And we already know the model view and controller pattern, right? This is the way we architect our application. And other than architecting the application, we need a framework to develop our web applications based on model view and controller logic, right? Okay, so let's get quickly started with today's lesson. Quickly open VS Code. So I'll open Visual Studio Code, right? Right, so I have many things that are here, so I'll just close them down before we proceed ahead. Okay, right. We have already created the project, right, and the project name is NIIT. Let me delete many different things that we have created. Okay, so I'm going to delete these things. Right, and I'm going to delete all views controllers, and this is how your Python and your Django will look like once you start your new project, right? All right, so we are done. Okay, we're done with each and everything. Let me open the server and see whether it works or not. So I'll go to 127.0.0.1 and yeah, the server is not started. What you can do, you can use the same platform right here to start the Django server, and the command to start the Django server is go to terminal and you're at PowerShell. You can change, if you want to change, you can go to Python shell, and now you can clearly see you're using Python shell. And in order to exit Python shell, you can type exit and then parenthesis, and you exit the Python shell, right? And now you are, I'll again show you to go to Python shell, type Python, and now you're using Python command prompt here. And to exit the Python command prompt and go to the PowerShell, right? PowerShell means the main command prompt, right? You can even type CMD here to use the main command prompt and type Python. Just a moment, wait. All right then, and now what we are going to do, right? You can take Python and you can use anything. So let me exit this, and if you want to start, so it will not be, feasible for you to use many command prompts. You can use the terminal right here, and you can use and write any command, any shell, right, using the same terminal. So I can type Python, right, manage.py, and before you start, you need to make sure that you are in the current folder that you have created. Which already built a virtual environment, you already built the folder, so you need to go to the same projects folder that you want to work with. So I'll say manage.py and then run server, right? So this should start. Did you mean a run server? Yes, I mean run server. Did I spell it wrong? Run, S-E-R-V-E-R, run server. It should start this server, and we having some problem right here. Okay, let me just get rid of this. Alright, so this is how your project will look once you start it, right? Alright, the server has started. I'll go and refresh it. We should get Django. And now you don't want to see this template over here. Let's say about you want to see your own template, right? And you want to create your own web application, right? Because you need to create, yeah, for sure you need to create your own web application. Just like we created this application, I'll just show you again. I'll delete. If you have already done it, then there's no problem. And if you have not done it, what you need to do is the following, right? Because what Python considers, this entire NIIT is going to be your project, right? And a project can have many applications, which we call as apps. Login can be an app, register can be an app, all right? Administration or admin section can be an app. So you can create as many apps as you want. So the moment you create a new project, what you do, go to the terminal, start the server. If the server is already started at the command prompt, you can cancel the command prompt and start the server right here. So this thing can be achieved as well. And this is how your project may look once you open the project. And now what you need to do, you need to create an app. As I said, you need to be quite aware of many different things, right? How to create an app, you already know, right? I've already told you, right, that you have to create an app right here, okay? And app can be, there can be different things that you can do with this basically environment, right? And to just get started with this kind of environment, or what you need to do is the following, because as I said, you need to get used to commands. Just a moment. Yeah. All right, I'm back. So I was talking of creating an app, right? This NIT is going to work as an entire project, and a project can have many apps, right? As I said, login can be an app. If we consider Facebook, comment section is a different app, and then you chat, it's a different app. So basically what happens in Django, right, with Python, that you need to create different apps. So and there can be different apps in a single project. For example, this NIT is my project. So what I do here is create an app, right? So I'll create an app, let's say login, right? So we call that as login. So I'll change because I already started server here, right? And I'll have to start another terminal, right? I'll go to PowerShell right here, and I'll do one thing. Okay, I'll start an app here, all right? And to create a new app, I will say Python, all right, MANA. We know that we have this file inside the root directory manage.py, and I'll type start app. If this thing is not visible for you, I'll try and make it visible. All right, Python manage.py, start app, and the name of the app. For example, it is the login app that we intend to create. So I'll say enter. Right, so the app is created. In case if you're facing any error while creating the app, right, what you need to do is select a proper virtual environment, right? If you've not selected a proper virtual environment, you will not be allowed to create an app. And for that, if you want to create a virtual environment, work on a virtual environment, we already created a virtual environment known as NIIT. So you can say work on NIIT. So the moment virtual virtual environment NIIT does not exist, create it with mk virtual environment. So now if it's not working, you can type mk, which is make virtual environment, and what you can do is basically type the name of the virtual environment you want to work with. And if there is no virtual environment, you can either do pip install virtual, right, env, right? And now you can see the environment is already here, right? So we're already working with a virtual environment right here. If this is not there, you can do a pip install virtual environment, right? And to activate, at times you already have an environment, you just need to activate the environment, right? How do you activate the environment? You can move to this env directory. So I can say cd env, and now I move to the env directory, and there is basically a folder known as scripts, cd scripts, which means that I'm entering the folder known as scripts. I can see the folder scripts, and there are all the scripts, and here what I can do is type activate, and that's it, right? So the term activate, okay, what happened? Scripts activate. The term activate is not recognized as same. Okay, I'm at PowerShell. I was going to click the spelling of the name was included, and the path is basically env. Why? We should be able to go to scripts and activate. Maybe it's already activated. Yeah, mine is perhaps activated. Yours, if not activated, will get activated, right? So you need not to worry about, right? So now then you have to create, you already created an app, login app is here, you already created it. What you need to do is basically start the app that we have already created, right? If everything goes fine, right, then you make sure that you work with this kind of environment. And if you are getting an error, I repeat, if you're getting an error that Django is not available, you either do environment variable change of Django, or if you're not able to do that, please do this: pip install. You can install Django right here, right, using the same command prompt. Mine is already satisfied, yours should go through, right? And after doing each and everything, right, what you have to do, you have to create an app. I have created mine, Python manage py startup login. So now my app is absolutely created, right? And now let's take a look at the app, right? My app is here. It has you can say it has models. Remember the previous lecture that we are dealing with MVC, which is model, view and controllers, right? So it has models, right? It has nothing, it's empty in here. Just a package is being imported, right, from Django.db. You're importing models. We have views. This is where we are going to handle our presentation logic, right? And this is where we are going to handle our data persistence or data logic. And controller can be any business class that we will not touch at this moment in time, right, but in the concurrent classes. And now you can find urls.py here. This is where each and everything, this is where routing happens. This is where URLs are checked, whatever you're typing, right? For example, if I go here and I type /home, this is the file where we can handle this home. Now what error are you getting? Page not found, and the method is get. All right, and now you have to remember one thing forever, right? And the thing that you have to remember forever is, right, remember we usually deal in two HTTP, right, request methods. Number one is get, and number two is post. So get is loaded, so we can say get, right, is called by default when we, right, access the website, and is generally used to, right, get is called by default when you access the website, and it is generally used to fetch the data, right? And post is called explicitly, right? And it explicitly means it's not called by default, you call it, you write the code to call post, right? And it is used to submit or process the sent data to the web server, right? So you have to remember these two things. So whenever you're loading an application, for example, I write any URL, or for example, I write facebook.com. The moment I write facebook.com, I get facebook.com. Which method is called automatically? It is get, because you're loading the website, right? And now if I load it here, right, you can clearly see the request method is by default get, right? And the request URL is this, and you're getting 404 response that the page is not found, because you are not handling this URL right here in this urls.py. So this is where you are going to handle URLs of the entire application, all right? And you can make as many URL files as you want to make, right, to handle those things. So let's go ahead and instead of printing this Django page, why don't we create our own page and try and make that static page, which may initially be static, to dynamic page. So what are we going to do? Remember, this is the project, right, and this is the entire project, and these are the project files here within this NIT, and these are the app files. So I'll go to my app, and I'll say new. I'll create a new file and I'll name it urls.py. Py is an extension given to the Python files. Alright, py means Python. So each and every file has an extension. HTML has an extension of HTML. The MP3 file, the songs you listen to, has an extension of MP3, right? And Python has an extension of py. So this is the new file that we are making, right? So it does not exist. Now what we do here is that I make this file to handle all the URL of this app, right? You can skip this and do this inside this urls.py, but that's not going to be the divide and conquer methodology. That means you are going to put too much of load on a single file. So that's why we divide everything, right? For example, the logic here is same. I told you, I gave you an example of module driven controller, right? The waiter is doing its own job, give and take. The cook is cooking and the customer is eating the food. That means each and everyone is doing its own job. What if you tell your customer? What if you tell the customer to cook? What if you tell the customer to do service of taking the food and giving it back, or all the services that are included in restaurant yourself? So it's going to be adding too much of pressure on that customer, right? And what if you ask waiter to cook? What happens when waiter starts cooking? By the time waiter is cooking, other customers may come and go because customers may not find anyone attending them and taking their orders. So same is the case here. We should not put load, or we should not over exaggerate, or we can say overload any file, any class, or any section of the web application. We should try and divide, right? And then let everyone do its own job without even peeping into others' job. That's what we are doing. We're creating a separate URL file here, right? And you can clearly see that this is basically an application and this is the project, right? Settings.py is here in the application, and settings.py file is not in the settings.py file is in the project. Now we clearly see here, which contains some templates that we are going to learn later. Today we may, if we get time, so we'll at least fire one template, right? But settings.py file is for the entire project, right? Not for the particular application, right? So we can see that application has no settings.py, but we have created a different url.py to maintain URL settings or URL request and response from this app, particular app, which is login app, right? All right, then if you understood this, let me go ahead and create, for example, and if this is the set of URLs, let's say we have the set of URLs that we'll be handling, right? Forgot password, maybe one URL, right? Forgot username, maybe other user. If you are sure that you're dealing with more than one URLs, we know Django knows that you're dealing with more than one URL. So what we can do, you can make this here URL patterns, and instead of making it a single URL pattern, I'll make it like a list. So this is a list we are making here. So those who know Python know what Python list is: mutable, immutable. Go back to recall previous classes. So making a simple list right here, right? And what I do inside this list, I apply. Let's say I apply path, right? And I declare path, and let me call this, let's say about the path is nothing, because here you have not typed anything. You're directly accessing localhost/8000, or you can type localhost/8000, meaning one and the same thing, right? Localhost and 120.1.0.0.1 are the same thing, right? So you are not accessing any specific URL, so I'll keep this URL blank or as it is. All right, how do you create, or how do you go? Just a moment. I'll just try and expand the font, maybe, if I find it. How do you zoom in? Okay, we have this editor, or we have this appearance. What is Zen mode? Okay, we have this zoom in. Control plus is equivalent to zoom in. Okay, control plus is zoom in. Oh my god, I've zoomed in too much. Right, I'll go to appearance, and what is zoom out? Control minus is basically zoom out. Alright, so let me see, Explorer. Now view, appearance. What is Zen mode? So let me see. Okay, my god, how do you exit the Zen mode now? By hitting the escape key. Okay, I'll find it somewhere. I don't know. View, appearance. Move sidebar left. Yeah, it looks better on the left side. Okay, so let's not waste the time. If it's visible, then I am going to add path here. And what I do right here, I'll have to call a function here. Look, I'll make you understand what we did so far, right? Making our first web page, right? So now we may have a URL pattern. That means we'll have URL pattern, right? URL pattern will be linked to a function. Those who are not understanding, please watch the complete video. By the end of the video, you'll have understood each and everything. I hope so. Alright, so you have the URL pattern, and that particular URL pattern is linked to a function, and that particular function, alright, returns a view, right? So let's do this. So it has a function that it's basically linked to. Now if I go to views.py, let me go to views.py. So I'm going to create my first view in here. So for example, if I define, let's say a home, or we can say index, alright, and we take the request here in the request variable, alright, and let me say that this page that I'm creating, or the view that I'm creating, this is the magic here. Views are not going to be pages that we have to create a new HTML page. No, views can be functions as well as pages, right? And they can be static and they can be dynamic as well. You know that we are defining a normal Python function, and let us say I return to this function, let's say hello Django, welcome to the web app development world, right? So hello Django, welcome to the web app development world, right? Is this what I'm going to return back to the function? But hey, wait a second, right? I already talked to you about two different things at the start of the class, that it is about request and response, right? So now what you are doing, you're taking the request here, but are you giving the response? No, I'm not giving the response. I'm returning normal HTTP Django. That means I'm returning a string here. The string has to be returned as an HTTP response. I repeat, because you're giving a response back to the user. So I'll say HTTP response is a function. So I'll pass it to the HTTP response function. So if I say that, we may get an error right here, and that error will be because if it's a function, you'll have to import it. Now how do you import? So I'll say from Django dot URLs, right? Or not URLs, it's basically you're importing HTTP response. So I'll say from Django dot HTTP import res, or we can say import a HTTP response. At the moment you import HTTP response, I can clearly see there's no error you have, right? So what I do, so anyone who calls this URL means nothing, root, right, directly accesses the website by port number, all right, will get to let's say will get to see this. So I'll go to views. So this is, I'm calling this views file, and inside this views file, I have created a function known as home, right? What's the function name that we created in the views? Yeah, home function. So I'm accessing, whenever you type this URL, this function is going to be automatically called, right? Isn't it simple? It's very simple. And you can give this a name as well. So I can say name is equivalent to home. So it can be index, or it's basically it can be anything. The file name index.html. You'll see that. You'll see that. Now we're getting an error right here, and we are getting this error because we are using path here, right? Have we imported this path? You're giving path. This is basically a function. You're calling a function path, right? And you're declaring it inside a list known as URL patterns. All right. So what I do here is say from Django.urls, I'll say import path. Right, so now I import path, so there should not be any path error now. All right, and yeah, we are getting this error here, views. All right, so views is actually directly in the project, so I will say from all. From dot means from all. All right, import. Let's say about views. Right, you're using this views file. Right, you have to import this because then and only then you will return this views.home. You're calling this views.home, right? And this is here views.home, right? And let me save this and see and check for the errors. All right, then we don't have any error. I repeat, whenever you go to this path, which means I have not written any path here, whenever you go directly to this path, which is slash maybe root path, which function is called? Right, views.home function is called. What is views? The file views, right, which contains all the presentation logic, and the home function is called. And what are we returning back to the home function? We're returning back to the home function as HTTP response, this string right here. All right, so let me go and check Django and see what we get. Do you think we'll get it? Or we are still not getting it, right? Why? Because this is because of the fact that we have not added, the reference to this urls.py in our main urls.py. This is the main urls.py which is in the project, right? And now this is the only file that is called. This file is not called. No one knows what this file is unless I say, right, that I need to add a path here. And the path here is and request to this URL. Whenever someone types this URL, you please include is a function. So you please include, let's say about, we have to include which file? Login. What is login? Login is the app name. And inside login, we have a file name URLs. So this is the URLs. That means whenever someone types this, means whenever someone tries and access the website directly, you try and include this file login.urls. And now include may create an error. So let me save this and see. All right, we have to add comma here because url.pattern is basically nothing but it is a list. All right, it is nothing but a list. So list, first element of the list is this path and second element of the list is this path. That's why we have to add comma, and I can save this. Right, then now we are getting an error include. Right, my urls.py does not recognize what this include is. So what I do, I'll say from django.urls import path and also import include. Now save it again. All right, everything is gone nice. So let me refresh this. Hello, this is your first web application page, and see how magically, how dramatically, and how well model view and controller is being handled. That now the page is being displayed, which is not absolutely a page. The page that's being displayed here is not a page, but a function, a view defined here. For example, if I define another view, all right, let me call this as home 2. All right, hello Django, welcome to web application world from home 2. Now, have I created a page? No, I have not created a page. I've created a home 2 function. And we cannot have two functions of the same name, but yeah, home 2 is here. I'll go to urls.py and I say you need to call views.home2, right? If I call home2 and now I save this, I go back and now you can see that a page is automatically created. Now see, isn't this a magic? Doesn't it look like a magic, right? That we are handling web pages, and it is still static, kind of static, because you need to be patient. You just started at the basic level, right? You will go ahead and you will become great application developers if you carry on with the classes. But yeah, you know that instead of having pages, we are having different URL patterns and we are having functions being defined. Let's say if I say URL pattern, so if I add another path here, I say, hey, wait a second, if you have a path /home, what if someone types /home? All right, so let's see. So if someone types /home, it should get, okay, cannot be reached. So we have an error here. Okay, let me save this. Okay, no, still we have an error. Let me save it again without slash. We still get an error here, so let me see. Invalid syntax, so pick the problem here. Okay, that means okay, we have to add it. Okay, I got it. So let me show it to you later. So now if I access home, so let's not access home because I'll have to edit it twice. We are yet to make any template, so we haven't made any template. So let me go ahead and, why are we getting this error right here? So let me first, okay, let me save this and see whether it works. Alright, so there's no error now. Yeah, we are getting it from home too. Let me have home here. So if I have home, right, we'll have to do many changes to this if I try and access it with this particular thing. But yeah, I'll have to see HOME home. Yeah, now it's working, no change. Okay, fine. So now /home, whenever I type /home, I get this function. So for example, now by default, if I type nothing, I should get home, right? And if, let's give it a name, home 2. Now let's see the URL pattern. This is how we handle routing of URLs here. If you don't type anything, which function is called? Views.home. Let's go to views. Views.home is basically giving us a returned response, right? You can see this line, and home 2 is giving from home 2, right? So if I call home, if I go directly, okay, comma, I forgot comma. If I directly type home, I should fire the function, or it should call the function home2, which is inside views. And if I don't type anything, it should call the function home. So let's see, now home, it's calling the function home2. If I don't mention anything right here, it should call the home function. Isn't it interesting and isn't it nice to handle? Is it being recorded or I stopped recording? Don't tell me. Yeah, it's being recorded. All right. And the second thing that I want to show you, since you have completely and successfully launched your first project, all right, and you started handling data across model, view, and controllers, still we have not taken use of models because we are doing static things. We haven't done anything dynamic as of now, but we intend doing dynamic things too, right? Okay, then if this thing is done, so let me go and show you something again. Will this be rendered as an HTML? Right? If we render this an HTML, let's say it is H1 and it is H1, and what I do right here is H2, all right, and have h2 tags right here. So will this work? Right, it should come as a heading 1. Yes, it's coming as a heading 1. And if I type slash home, which is the another segment of the URL, right? So we are getting h2, right? So what is this, right? This is basically the 0th segment of the URL, where you don't type any segment, you access the URL directly, you access the server directly. And this is the first segment of the URL. All right, and you can define as many paths as you can. That's why we created a separate path file here. Even if you don't want to create a separate path file, what you can do, you can go inside urls.py and mention paths directly here. It should still work. But having said that, we need to be, we need to divide everything so that we are able to find things whenever required. All right, so this thing works. So let's have a template. Let's have a template. If I go to this settings.py here, all right, you can see right here that there is this list templates, and it has many different things being passed, the directories of templates, and it's already using a package known as Django template. So in order to declare and design template, let me go to this, we can say, let me go to templates or create a folder templates right here. Okay, let me go inside the package here. So I'll say new folder, and I call this new folder. You can either right click or you can click this here, which is new folder, and say templates. Now I created a new folder known as templates, and what I do inside these templates, I create a new file, and let's call this file as home.html, or you can call this as index.html. Right, so now since you have successfully created this file, let me go ahead and create this doc type, or let me go ahead and create h1, which is the heading 1 tag of HTML, and say hello from HTML file, right? And I can say hope you are doing, and hope you are doing doing well, right? And ... and it's an h1 tag. Right then, so now if you want to fire this kind of template, what is a template? For example, if you want your website to have a similar header, each and every website has a similar design, only the content of the body changes, right? The content comes dynamically, right? And if you want that kind of a template wherein you design your header and wherein you design your footer and you want your body content to come dynamically, you do these things. All right, and let me go and do a few changes right here. Okay, I'll go to the function views.py, and I have this function home right here. So I'll say instead of returning a string as an HTTP response, right, what I do, I ask my function to render my HTML page. Render means converting the dynamic content, because we're dealing with dynamic and static content. Since our browser understands only HTML, right? Browser does not understand what we are typing here, right? Everything we're typing here has to be converted back to HTML so that the browser understands it. So what we do, we tell Python server and Python engine to kindly render and convert whatever we write here to HTML so that the browser understands it. So I'll say render request. Why do we take this parameter here? Because you are taking the request from the client, which is the access or the URL that he is requesting for, and what you do, you say that I need to render the request that has come will be rendered as home.html. So now you can clearly see, instead of returning the string, I'm returning a complete HTML page right here. So if I go to basic home, right, template does not exist. Now it understands that you're trying to access a template, right? The template is home.html, but actually does not exist. And how does Python know that a template does not exist? By going to templates, by going to settings.py, moving to the list templates, and see the dir, right? The directories of, you can apply as many directories of templates as you can here, but the main directory is quite empty right here. So what you need to do here, you need to say that, hey, find the path of template directory. I'll say OS, which is operating system, dot path, right, dot join the path, Right, base dir. What is base dir? Base dir means the root directory. So I'll say base underscore dir, go to the root directory and mention the name of the directory, which is templates. This templates right here, templates, templates, and now save it and see whether the template exists now or the template is found, is still getting compiled. So wait a second. os.path.join with base dir templates. Right, maybe it's in login. Right, so let me see. Yeah, maybe it's in login. We created it in package in app login. So I'll say login.templates. I created an app known as a login, and the template is actually in login directory. So let me see whether it's found. Okay, login.templates is not found. So let me basically do one thing. Let me copy this home, or let me delete this. I'll delete this templates directory and I'll go to my main folder, right, and I say create a new folder right here known as templates templates, right, and inside templates I create a new file and I call this as home.html, right, and I paste the same content, hello, from HTML file. Hope you're doing good. Right, go to settings.py and just mention the name of the directory, which is directly now accessible from the base dir, and the directory name is templates. Right, so let's see whether it finds. Bismillah, still not found. Django.templates or loader file system loader, C users home source home.html, C user. Okay, let me see the path first. C user Django. Whether I'm writing a wrong path. C user Django, Django projects, right, we have Django projects and NIIT templates. So I have NIIT and there's no templates, right, you can clearly see this right here. So I'll have to go to NIIT and then yeah, there is templates, and then we find home.html. It says that the source does not exist. Why does not it exist actually? Maybe we've done something wrong here. Okay, so the mistake that we have done is nothing actually. We have created this templates right here. And we have mentioned the dirs as well, and we have mentioned the file which is home2. So let me delete this home2. Are we calling home1 or are we calling home2 right here? Let me go to URLs. We are calling home. When we type nothing, we're calling actually home, right, and we are actually calling home here, right? Yeah, we're not calling home2 here, we're calling home, and the function that is fired is home. If I go to home function, actually we are rendering it here, and we take the request and we render home.html. Why isn't this coming? That's my question, right? So let me see it again. Okay, wait a second, I'll rectify that and come back again. Alright, what we had done, we had created a template at a wrong place. What you got to do is, now you can see that this is the main project right here, which contains the directories for our project and the directories for application. What you do, because you're mentioning base dir here. Right, if I go to settings.py, we're already mentioning base dir, means we have to create directly in the root directory. I'll close all, click manage.py, and now you can clearly see here that we can create a new folder, right? We'll create a new folder in the root directory and mention it as templates, and go inside templates, create a new file and call this as home.html. Now once I call this as home.html, I'll copy paste the h1 tag, and then we are done. We refresh and then hello from the HTML file. Hope you are all doing well. So this is called Django Python language, right? So we call this as Django Python language. wherein we created in the root directory, we created the templates, right? If you want to see that whether the template is created in the root directory, what you can go to documents, or you can go to C, wherever you have created your project, right? And you go to Django projects. You'll go to Django projects and you'll find an ID here, and you can find this template. So if you cannot find template directly in the root directory, which is Django project /NIIT, then there's a problem. The moment you find it, it works absolutely fine. So this is your Django template language, right? And now what you got to do is say about you want to deal with some dynamic content, right? For example, this thing here, you want to come hello and your name, right? So you want to display anything here, just like a name. So I'll just display double curly braces and I'll say name. Why double curly braces? Because we handle dynamic data here using JSON format. JSON always works like this. So you'll come to know slowly and steadily. But yeah, at this moment in time, what you need to remember is double braces and this variable name, which is also we can say f name, first name, right? So the variable name here is f name. This is what we are trying to access. If I refresh this, hello, nothing. So there is nothing in this f name. That means it's able to handle nulls absolutely fine. But what we can do, if we want to pass any name here, I'll go to views.py, right? And I can do the following change. You are doing this right here. You are rendering the request and you are rendering home.html template. With this home.html template, I will pass one more thing in curly braces, and it is a key. It is basically a dictionary, right? If you know dictionary, we're passing it as a dictionary, which is key and a value pair. For example, I said f name, which is first name, and I'll say Fahim, right? So my first name is Fahim, and I'm passing and rendering it to home.html. Now the home.html, the moment it finds the key, you know that dictionary is a key and a value pair. The moment it finds the key f name, which is right here, right? F name, it's going to render and give you a dynamic content or give you dynamic data. Now if I click here, now you can clearly see hello Fahim from HTML5. And now you need to create a bit of space here. Just create a bit of space and refresh the file. Hello Fahim from HTML5. Hope you are doing this. So this is Fahim is now coming dynamically. But we have been able to do create your first app, right? We have been able to create our first app. We have been able to create our first static content, static page. We have been able to handle URLs. We have been able to create our first view, and we have been able to create the first dynamic data that we passed from the view function to the main view right here. So tomorrow what we will be doing is creating a complete HTML dynamic page, inshallah. Until then, if you're having any problems, look, for the first time once you are setting it up, you will find many problems, right? The moment you find many problems or any problem that you find, you got to message me, right? Message me your problems and I shall be content in helping you guys, right? Let me know if I can help you. Until then, practice hard and see you on Monday. Bye bye, take care.